formed by the neutralization of an acid with base is called a salt. Means if we are taking a base, for example calcium hydroxide, it is a base and this base is reacting with the acid. For example, we are taking here sulfuric acid. Now this is acid and this is base. When acid and base react together and vanishes effects of each other, then this reaction is called as neutralization reaction. And because in the neutralization reaction neutral substance is formed, this calcium reacts with SO4 and will give calcium sulfate, CaSO4, calcium sulfate, and remaining is what? This OH and this H2 will give rise twice H2O. Okay, as we have seen, what acid and base reacts to give salt and water. So calcium sulfate is a salt. So this is the definition of salt and this is the proof of the definition. And take another example, the well known or familiar example, sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid. Okay, we will use NaCl plus strong base hydrochloric acid, strong acid gives sodium chloride, which we are using in our food. Okay, table salt and water. Okay, acid and base reacts together to give salt and water. Now neutralization reaction involving the complete or partial neutralization of acid by base gives the formation of salt. This we can electrovalent or ionic compound. जो salt हमने देखे हैं calcium sulfate, sodium chloride, these are ionic compound. Ionic compound. And ionic compound is also called as electrovalent compound. Electrovalent. Okay, this point you have to note side by side. Now after that, salt is an electrovalent or ionic compound formed by the partial or complete replacement of the replaceable ions or hydrogen atoms of an acid by metallic ion or ammonium ions. All the salts are ionic in nature and strong electrolyte. Now all the salts are ionic. Ionic means if we will break the salt, it can be divided into two parts, cation and anion. Cation is positively charged species and anion is negatively charged species. So these two ions combine together and again they will give salt or ionic compounds. Mean ionic compound consists of one cation and one anion and maybe more than two. Ionic compound consists of cation and anion. Cation is positive and anion is negatively charged. Now all the ionic compounds are good electrolytes. Here I am writing electrolyte. What is the meaning of electrolyte? Electrolyte is a substance when added in a suitable solvent, they ionize and they are able to pass electricity. They are conductor. Means electrolytes are the conductor of electricity. This is the meaning of electrolyte. Now after this, they ionize completely on dissolution in water. For example, ammonium chloride, potassium chloride, sodium sulfate, sodium chloride, sodium oxalate, calcium sulfate, copper sulfate. These are the salts. They are good electrolyte. And salts are regarded as a compound made up of positive and negative ions. The positive part comes from the base while negative parts come from the acid. Salts may taste salty, so salt may taste salty and sour and bitter also. Salt may be sweet or tasteless. Okay, solution of salt may be acidic, basic or neutral. अब देखो कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट बात बोली है, सॉल्ट को हम सिर्फ क्या समझते हैं, कि वो न्यूट्रल सब्सटेंस है, ओके। अगर हम उसका सॉल्यूशन प्रिपेयर करते हैं तो वो भी न्यूट्रल होना चाहिए, ओके। लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होता है, डिपेंड करता है कि जो सॉल्ट हम प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं उसके दोनों भी रिएक्टेंट्स किस ओरिजिन से बिलोंग करते हैं, और उन दोनों की वजह से बनने वाला सॉल्ट वो न्यूट्रल भी हो सकता है, वो एसिडिक सॉल्यूशन भी बना सकता है, वो बेसिक सॉल्यूशन भी बना सकता है। तो हम देखा जाए तो हम सॉल्ट्स को क्लासीफाई कर सकते हैं, एसिडिक सॉल्ट में, न्यूट्रल सॉल्ट में, बेसिक सॉल्ट्स में, ओके। नाउ क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ सॉल्ट। नाउ स्टूडेंट्स, classification of salts, okay, we will see classification of salt. Now we have classified the salt into two categories, normal salt and acidic salt, normal salt and acidic salt, and third one is basic salt, okay. Third one is acidic salt, normal salt and basic salt, okay. Basic salt we will see later, okay. Now what is the definition of normal salt? Normal salts formed by the loss of all possible protons of an acid, that is replaceable hydrogen atoms, are called normal salts. Such a salt does not contain a replaceable hydrogen atom. बहुत ही सिंपल है, देखिए नॉर्मल सॉल्ट में हमने एग्जांपल लिया हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड, सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड, सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड, सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड, ओके, एसिडिक एसिड, ओके, सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड. Hydrochloric acid contains one replaceable hydrogen, sulfuric acid contains two replaceable hydrogen, okay, acidic acid contains one replaceable hydrogen, okay. लेकिन अगर ये रिप्लेसेबल हाइड्रोजन जब न्यूट्रलाइजेशन रिएक्शन होती है और ये रिप्लेसेबल हाइड्रोजन अगर सॉल्ट के अंदर प्रेजेंट रहते हैं तो वो नॉर्मल सॉल्ट नहीं होगा. लेकिन जब न्यूट्रलाइजेशन रिएक्शन होती है और बनने वाला जो सॉल्ट है उसमें कोई भी रिप्लेसेबल हाइड्रोजन प्रेजेंट नहीं होता है, in that condition we will say normal salt. HCl, NaOH, NaCl. NaCl is a normal salt, sodium sulfate is a normal salt, sodium acetate is a normal salt, ammonium chloride NH4Cl. आप बोलेंगे कि NH4Cl में 4 हाइड्रोजन है लेकिन वो रिप्लेसेबल नहीं है, they are not replaceable hydrogens, that's why this is a normal salt, okay. Now sodium phosphate Na3PO4, okay, तो ये भी क्या है, normal salt है, okay. Now acidic salt. If you have already understood the normal salt, then you don't have need to remember these things, or you don't need to study this acidic salt. Means in the acidic salt we have taken sulfuric acid, this is sulfuric acid, and this is sodium hydroxide. We have taken one sulfuric acid and one sodium hydroxide. After the neutralization we will get NaHSO4, sodium hydrogen sulfate. This salt contains one hydrogen, so this is not a normal salt, this is a acidic salt, okay. Sulfuric acid plus potassium hydroxide, both will react and give potassium hydrogen sulfate. It contains one replaceable hydrogen, that's why it is a acidic salt. Phosphoric acid contains 3 replaceable hydrogens, and if we are taking one sodium hydroxide then it will form NaH2PO4. This is acidic salt. In place of this, if sodium Na2 H and PO4, if this salt will form, again there is a one replaceable hydrogen, that's why this is acidic salt. So in this lecture today we will stop here.